More pitfalls, not Jews.
Oh, more pitfalls. You didn't think you'd have so many pitfalls.
No, that's why.
Lots of pitfalls. Not thinking about the business model as much as the idea. How are you going to make money? How are you going to make money? How? Tell me. How are you going to do that? It's really, really important. My husband used to own a restaurant in Colorado, and they worked very, very hard at this restaurant. And one of the things that they discovered was they were very good at breakfast and lunch, not so good at dinner. Breakfast and lunch, they could make a lot of money if they priced it right. And so that was one of the things that they realized kind of down the road, unfortunately, was that the margin that they were taking wasn't high enough, that they could have made more money on that area of their business that was really growing and doing so well. This is a little dumb example, but this is so important. How are you going to bring in the money? I work with a lot of women, and this is one of the areas where we work on a lot, is even though I'm in marketing and design, I always am pushing them back to this. How are you going to make money? How are you going to sustain that growth? How are you going to position yourself at the second stage to begin to build out and make more money? What are your plans for that? It's important. You can't just rely on hobbyists to buy your stuff. Okay. Huge. Are you going to be selling e-commerce? Are you going to be online? How are you going to distribute things in a way? Those are all really critical to your success. Being too rigid with your business model. So if you have a business, let's say, and you've got a specific way that you think is going to grow, and you find actually that's not happening, you need to look at that and really make adjustments for that. Especially after the economy here, I think that was a big blow to many people in terms of how they thought their business would grow. And so that agility, again, as we were talking about, and women actually are very, very good at being agile. I think that we just have a DNA that's made us a little bit better at that, because we have to keep track of the children at all times. I don't know how many of you have kids, but that's a big deal, keeping track of the children. So it makes us very conscious of what's going on at all times and able to leap tall buildings with a single bound. So I think that agility, looking at your business model, seeing if it's working, if it's not, making those adjustments, figuring things out as you go. Not testing every assumption. So what happens if it doesn't work? What happens? What happens if this part fails? What happens if that doesn't work? What happens if people don't like it? Think about all these things. Look through the whole scenario. When we do website development, we do a lot of user testing. And what we do is we sit behind someone that's actually using the website to watch how they go through and maybe order something or find something or do something with a license or whatever it might be. That's really, really helpful, because we can see how someone else is thinking. Your thought, you know what you're doing. It's all clear to you. If somebody else comes in to the situation, they're going to come with a whole different set of life perspective assumptions. And so really think about if something doesn't work and how to make sure that it does, or that there's a plan for that. Not keeping up to date, technology-wise. Okay, this is another huge, thorn in my side. I don't want to have another update to Photoshop. I don't want that. I like it just like this. No more updates, no upgrades, no. They keep coming out with them. And pretty soon you're using like a software that's like 5 years old, and everyone's like, wow, I can't even open this. Wow, what are you doing? It's really important that you force yourself to become aware of new trends, of new things that are happening in your industry, especially. And it's very difficult. You get tired of that. But that's the way the world works, and you have to adapt. It's very important that you're able to keep up with what's happening, especially in technology. Not researching your competition. I mentioned that one. It's really important that you go to your competition's websites and check out what they're doing, that you talk to people, that you see what's going on, and what they're doing wrong and what they're doing right. Not differentiating your product or service. This is sort of what my business is built on. You have to be able to differentiate yourself from all the other companies out there that do what you do or have what you have. Why are you better, faster, cheaper? What is the reason that someone would buy you? What is your value proposition? So important to articulate and be well aware of what that is. And then underselling yourself. As women, again, sometimes this is a little bit harder for us. We haven't been taught to go out, you know, I'll ask something of my husband, some opinion, and he'll go, yes, that's correct. And I'll know, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But he can bring it. He is, yeah, that's correct. It's hard, you know, because I just wasn't right. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I have to check it. I don't know, I have to see. The first answer out of his mouth, that's what it should be. That's what it should be. I so admire that. So I try to pretend I'm him sometimes. And it really helps. It's that confidence level.
I think it's important. We have to act in the same way that men do in these sort of situations. I mean, so many women I talk to say, oh, well, I'd like to start a business, but I think I need another graduate degree.
Yes.
I've got two. They always feel underqualified, that they're imposters, and someone will find them out.
Someone will find them out, yes. Yes.
That's really not the case. You are be confident in what you know, you're very accomplished women, and you need to go out there and sell yourself and do yourself proud.
Exactly. All right.
We've got just a few minutes left, so we'll whiz through this, and then perhaps we can take a couple of questions. So. Do you want to tell a tiny bit more about NAWBO? And
yes,
how you get in touch with NAWBO?
So we thought we'd just list some additional information for you if you're interested. That's the NAWBO website for the national organization. Lots of information and great resources on there. And then also the local chapter here, NAWBO-SV.org. Great leadership. No, just kidding. And that's a wonderful organization. Definitely, you can check it out. We have monthly meetings and all kinds of things going on. And then I'll let Ruth talk about Adventure Future Enterprises.
So we actually have a big our annual meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. It's at the Santa Clara Convention Center, the 5th annual Adventure Future Conference for Women. There's a strong entrepreneurial track, plus a lot of different sessions for women's leadership. Guy Kawasaki is actually our luncheon keynote speaker. Gail Lemon is speaking about international entrepreneurship. We have some fantastic speakers, and we do have student rates. We have volunteer opportunities. Check our website, adventurefuture.com, if you're interested. And both Deb and I have brought some flyers on our respective organizations and events, so business cards. Feel free to come up and help yourself. Anything else? Deb, or we can just take a couple of questions.
And there's one more slide for resources.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
right. It shows women2.0.org, ASIA, the capital investment, and then www.entrepreneur.org. So that's very interesting. You can check out those. And women who, at the end there, women who have started successful IT companies, their advice.
NC WiB, the National Center for Women in Information Technology. They have a great video series on their website. And then the Kaufman Foundation is also a wonderful source of resources for entrepreneurs, both for men and women. They're a huge organization that publishes a lot of good reports on small business. Great. Well, thank you all very much for your attention, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Yes.
Whatever you choose to do.
You have any good questions for us? Yeah.
So when you start a business, how do you determine when is a good time to seek VC?
It's really, a lot of it depends on your business plan and your track record. I hear that the VCs are really looking for a business model that will scale and give them sort of a 10-time return on their investment. They're not looking for small companies that are just going to stay small. They're looking for the next big thing, the next Yahoo, the next Google. So it's really being at that point of preparation. That's where you want to connect with a company, an organization like ASTIA. That's exactly what they do. They take high growth women entrepreneurs and they polish you, get you ready for your pitch and the whole thing. And those types of organizations are really valuable.
One of the pitfalls that you mentioned is not researching your competition. And I'm just wondering, how do you even find out what your competition did wrong? Because a lot of that information may not be public information, right?
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
talk to their customers.
Yeah, talk to their customers, look online. It depends again on what kind of business they are. You know, what's going on with their web? Do they have a blog? Do they have news on their website? That's a good way to tell what's going on if they have press release information. You know, I think it's just a matter of doing research to find out as much as you can about them, and then, you know, to poke around and see. It all depends again on what kind of business it is. But typically you can dig and you can find a lot of information. We do this all the time. You know, it's amazing what you can find out just by doing a web search.
So, I'll have a follow-up question. So when you do these searches, do you look into the financials and try to get a hint, like something went wrong this year?
If you look at their press releases, oftentimes you can tell some of those things. If it's a public company versus private, then, you know, you have to kind of think about that as well. You know, I think that or the idea is maybe going to organizations that they might be there or people might know of them there. Again, I have to talk to you a little bit more about what kind of business it is.
A lot of the industry associations, that's a great place to find out about other companies in your field. Look at the member list and ask questions and get involved.
How many months of living expenses would you suggest you have before you start a business? Because you know a lot of times you're going to have to invest, you're going to lose money. So what's your rule of thumb that you would advise like new entrepreneurs that?
Typically, I tell them they probably won't make any money for at least a year. And that's probably conservative. It depends on the business again.
I would say 6 months to a year. It depends on and that would be for service line business.
Yeah.
Because others, which are, you know, if you're talking a biotech company, it could be 15 years before you see a return.
Yeah.
So anything in between.
If you enter, say, like very homogeneous industry, I don't know, like CPA, accountants, how do you differentiate yourself from competitors?
I think a lot of the times it comes down to customer service, because that's one of the things that you have. You can tell your customer that you're going to be dealing with the principal of the company, because you are the principal. You're it when you start. So, whereas with a big CPA firm, if they're working with one of the big ones, they're going to be dealing with some lowly account executive. But with you, they're going to, they like you, they're going to be investing in you and choosing. So it's really quality of customer service and working with the principal of the company as opposed to someone.
I would also say if you have a specialty area, that can be very helpful. My father was a CPA who had a small business that was very successful in San Francisco for many years. He was great with his clients. He was super smart. And he also had a niche business of artists, photographers, art directors, people who were involved in an industry similar to mine. And that was his core group, and he worked with many of those clients for years and years and years. And he just built that up from he was a person working at Seedman & Seedman, I think, before he started his own business. So, and he was quite successful.
So you guys were talking about how passion isn't enough, and just because you think it's a good idea doesn't mean other people will. And are there forums or anything available to us to be able to bounce ideas off of? And I mean, I know if it's a great idea, you don't want to like spread them afterwards, but there are certain things where maybe someone has thought of something that you didn't. I know, like Askia, you were saying kind of.
There's another group called Women 2.0. I don't know if you've heard of it. I think they specialize in sort of young technical entrepreneurs, but they have what they call an idea lab, and you can actually do this on your own. I've actually done it when I've started a couple of businesses, and I've actually done this as well. Just get some of your friends together, preferably with a bottle of wine, and
food
test
is a good work.
Yeah, and variety of that nature helps, but just test your idea, just sound them out, or bring in people that you think might be helpful.
Yeah.
Like a mini advisory board. You can do it yourself, but I mean there are more formal programs. I would recommend Women 2.0 is a very good one.